Welcome, YouTube. This is going to be our Dexter 1 through 4 breakdown. We didn't want to do an episode by episode breakdown with a weekly series like this. It just seemed to be too much and not enough information per episode, right?
Yep. Yeah, I wanted to break it down a little more digestible. A few minutes on each episode. We're going to do 1 through 4, 4 through 8, and then probably 9 and 10 will get their own episode. Um, a few videos here and there, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I love it. So let's just get right into it. I don't want to dilly dally on all the unimportant stuff, but going into the first episode of Dexter, I didn't have a lot of high expectations for it. I just hoped that they were able to give us a good story. So from what we got, just starting off with uh setting up his what he's been doing the last, it's been like 10 years or so.
Yeah.
you know
Very, very mundane, ordinary life. Did not even seem like you were watching Dexter.
yeah.
It was like, there was some subtle nods to it and what he was doing, like buying the donuts for people, stuff like that. But the tone of the show is completely different. It's a lot darker to where the other one was more quirky. And it's just there was no internal monologue, even though you were waiting for that dark passenger
Exactly.
monologue. It never happened. Um, but yeah, very easy, like normal existence. You find out he's got a pretty girlfriend. She's the city cop. You find out he works at like a hunting lodge type shop, like sells guns and knives, which is the perfect, I guess, job for him at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, completely outside of anything that is Dexter.
Yeah, I don't think there was too much that was crazy about the episode. I thought it was a good episode to set everything up, right? You let us know what was going on. You set up his new life. You set up, the characters around him. You introduce certain characters that will become important later on. And one thing I liked that is they didn't rush Harrison into the first episode. I think that was actually pretty important, knowing that what we know now. I'm actually glad that they didn't do that. Keep that, that first Dark Passenger with him and Deb. Get that going. Let us realize what's going on before you just jump into all that. They sprinkled in the like missing female stuff, and you got a little bit of that early on, but we didn't get too much in that first episode, which I
Yeah.
actually really liked.
I thought the first episode was perfect. I thought the pacing was really good. I
Mm-hmm.
thought, setting up the asshole kid where
Exactly.
you knew he was going to be an issue. And then up into the moment where you see him chasing the deer and he's not killing, or not shooting the deer.
Yep.
And then later on, you see him walking up. And then the moment he hit the Will, I think his name is, with the butt of the rifle
Mm-hmm.
and knocked him down. And then, that's when his internal monologue came in and was like, oh, hello, old friend. And I thought that was perfect. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought
Yeah,
that
because you hadn't
Deb,
heard him talk to himself yet.
exactly, and how they set it up is because he hasn't killed his dark. I think what it comes down to is Deb as his dark passenger. Harry's dark passenger was trying to explain to him what he is, to where Deb's is keeping him in check. And I
Yeah.
think she plays it perfect. She's angry and antagonistic, and he's putting, of course, that on himself. It's in his head, but he's reflecting how he thinks he should be treated, and that's what's keeping him in line that whole time. Um,
And credit to those two actors in particular. One for coming back, bringing back a show that has far been removed from being relevant, and two being ex husband and wife, ex lovers and stuff like that, and being able to put that aside to still bring a really good television show back.
sure, but no, I thought it was set up perfectly. I loved everything about the episode.
Yeah,
Uh,
episode one was truly good. If there's anything that I truly loved about that first episode, and then we can move on, is just I love the white deer. You could see,
Symbolism, yeah.
yeah, the symbolism. If they were to bring Harrison in those first 10 minutes of the episode or whatever, and not have him following him around, doing all that first, and just immediately bringing him, and not have it in that moment as well, I feel like it kind of takes away what Dexter is trying to do of keeping the monster at bay.
No, I thought it was great. I thought at the end, the ending of the episode was great. Harrison, of course, shows himself. Dexter says, "Hey, I don't know what you're talking about," and Deb talks him out of going to chase him down. Of course, he does, and
Yeah.
brings Harrison into his life. And at the very end of the episode, you also get to see where Dexter is getting sloppy, and he sees, that he left blood on the ground.
Blood trail. And what's funny is that me and you talked about this, and like, this has always been a Dexter thing. And knowing that the creator of this season was the creator of the first four seasons, it really brings that vibe back as well of like the times that he would kill where it wasn't planned and methodical, it always bit him in the ass every single time, you know. And obviously that's story development, but you know, it's just showing again.
Sure. Well, on to see episode 2. Next episode is when you get a little bit more Harrison at
Mm-hmm.
first. You know, Dexter trying to be that. I thought it was cool when he was like, what do I even say to him? He's like, "You got big." And I
Yeah.
was like, "That's perfect, Dexter." And then of course the rich kid is missing. And
Yep.
that's when the police start searching, and of course it's very close to Dexter's house.
Yeah, I thought it was for this going into this episode, you know, I was curious of like how much does Harrison know? You know, and it's he still seems like he's playing coy even up to episode
I
4.
I do want to talk about one thing when he explains when he's talking to Dexter, and he says like what happened to Hannah, and he said, "Oh, she died of cancer," and I've been bouncing around from place to place since then. I don't believe it at
I
all.
yeah, me neither.
I don't know if she even died of cancer. Who knows? He may have killed. There may be
That's
a
where I'm
whole
leaning.
list of things that happened, but the bouncing around place to place too, especially in America. I mean, uh, he had to have known at that point that Hannah was a killer.
Yeah.
It had to have come up
He's
because he's old enough
hyper
to
intelligent.
remember, and he's old enough to also remember his dad. So he had to have asked what happened. He got the internet at one point. He had to have Googled their names.
Mhm.
So he knew Hannah was a killer, which also leads me to believe that he knows what Dexter is as well.
Yeah.
Not from the intelligence side of him, like he found out, but because Hannah probably told him.
Yeah, I think
So I'm kind of
he said
weary of his.
he said he found Dexter's letter, right? And I think that's going to play into everything. I don't know how much they're going to be able to dive into it because this is a one-off season, but I think if I'm creating the background of Harrison's story, I'm doing exactly that, right? He
Sure.
develops his, you know, dark passenger or whatever. He starts hurting animals, doesn't have anyone to talk to, finds letter, goes crazy, kills Hannah, is able to refine his skills and abilities as he's searching for his dad.
Sure. Yeah, and I can see that, and I believe he found the letter, and that's how he found Dexter. I
Hmm.
just mean I meant more found out what Dexter is, a killer.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That he's still playing coy with that, right? Like we don't know, and I feel like that's coming out this next episode, which I have some theories about. But moving on from that, you know, this
Outside
is
of that,
episode 2 is where we find out where there's another serial killer as well.
exactly, we found out there's another serial killer. We both were talking about two different people, but it's describing him wrong. So we both thought it was going to be the rich guy. And when I was saying rich guy, I was saying the rich kid's dad, that rich guy. You were
Hmm.
talking about the oil tycoon.
Yeah, that had the
Um,
protest, which
but it's
could be
very
both.
obviously, in my opinion, and we'll talk about it later for what we see. My opinion for it was obviously him. He's got the same facial hair, like
No,
the
I
white. You
agree,
can see his
100%.
white facial hair. You can see his eyes. I thought it was definitely him. But anyways, you get to see him be the concerned dad. He also shows up to the search site. He's like, "No, this wasn't. He didn't just go missing." And
Hmm.
dug into it a little more. The one thing I probably didn't like is how sloppy they made Dexter look, where there was a blood trail all the way back to his house.
All the way back.
And I
Yeah.
thought the his like snowmobile or ATV, I thought that part was weird. Like Dexter has eagle vision and was just. I don't think that's even how it works. You just drive over it, and it disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah, dogs are never gonna find this. So that part I thought was super weird. Um, but I like that we got to see Dexter also go back to his ways of messing up crime scenes,
Yeah, and you know
and
that's what it
getting
was.
people off his back.
Yeah, and that's what it's really been about, right? You know, he's so good at when he gets in trouble, finding a way to either get out of trouble, blame it on someone else, which just seems like what he's trying to do, lead cops in a different direction. Which is what he's a master at. He's done it so many times in so many crazy situations. So it's so much different too from going from a Miami big city to this small town where I feel like we've met all the characters. You know what I mean? Like,
Everybody in the town knows each other.
yeah.
Yeah. Plus, he can't even be himself there because it's not like they have that many criminals. Like Miami criminals went missing all the time. Wasn't a big deal there. Everybody would know.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I think it's harder for him, especially in an impulse moment, to actually get away with what he did.
Yeah.
But anyways, we in that episode basically that's when they're I think calling the dogs out to come search, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're bringing the dogs in, and he still has it buried under his fire pit.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those things where I think Deb really comes into handy where obviously it's his I think deep down it's himself, right? It's his
Yeah,
own
it's how he
consciousness,
thinks himself.
whatever, but um it just shows that he still finds a way to get out of certain things. So finding that thing where they burn like deer carcasses or whatever it was,
That was
they're
episode 3, I think. Yeah.
oh, was it? But
Let's
yeah,
just
I
get
think
into
it
episode 3 then.
yeah, I mean, other than like, I feel like episode two was really just setting up him being a dad and what was going on with him and Harrison. I don't, is that the episode where they did the test? Was he doing the school test during that episode?
Yes, yeah, that was I thought a cool part. You
Yeah, because
see
that was the end.
Harrison
Yeah.
like got super high on a test and they didn't
Mm-hmm.
believe him and Dexter didn't take up for him,
Yeah,
you
and then
know.
at the end of the episode, he actually called him dad and everything. That's
Yeah.
right. Um, but yeah, other than that, I feel like that's what that episode was about, more about bonding between the two.
I thought it was a good episode. I think that at that point I was like, all right, the pacing should speed up past here because the
Yes.
pacing is very slow. I like the episode, but very slow. Um, we'll get in that later. But episode 3, that's where he has to really go into hiding Matt's body.
Yes.
And because that's when the dogs are coming down.
Yeah, and they bring the
It's-
CSI guy.
yeah, I thought it was cool. He gave knowledge to the CSI guy, who was like a blood splatter kind of guy, and he
Mm-hmm.
knew a lot, right? And I thought that was cool to for Dexter to be like, oh, this guy's actually knows what he's talking about. Um, but then you see Dexter trying to scramble, like, where do I hide a body? Because he's not used to killing out here. He's like, I can't drop in the lake; it's not deep enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then he decides to go to a mine shaft where he tries to go in there, which I thought was funny. And there's a fucking bear. Because in my head, the first thing I thought was, how hilarious would it have been if you would have seen that bear and him get scared, and then the next scene you just see the bear plastic wrapped to a table. I
That
just
is pretty
thought it was
funny.
fucking hilarious. But yeah, so he's kind of scrambling and trying to figure out where to put this body. All the while, the police are at his house, and they are searching for the body.
Yeah, that episode was all about cleaning up, and it kind of comes into more revealing of Kurt as well because more towards the end of the episode you can obviously tell he's been drinking and he said he saw Matt and everything like that. Is Matt right? Is that what his name was?
Yeah, yeah, it was Matt. But
Um,
before that, though, I would like to say this. I thought it was really cool to see Harrison at school and how he reacted because that is also, he goes to school, he sees the kid being bullied. I thought the way they portrayed a kid being bullied was really cool because usually movies are all like, oh, look at that nerd dog to death yesterday. It's something crazy absurd, and
yeah,
all
they
they
did
were
some
doing
catfishing thing.
was and fucking with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was cool. You get to see him stand up. You pointed out to me that he did the same choke that Dexter
Yeah.
always did in the show, which was
No,
cool.
it was like the first thing I caught on to because I was like, oh, is he gonna do some crazy suplex throw him to the ground thing because of the wrestling or whatever? That's what I immediately thought. And then he went for the neck. I was like, whoa, that's the most Dexter thing I've seen yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Absolutely. And I thought that was really cool. And I thought it was cool too how he kind of became friends, showing he's the good guy, right?
kind of.
Well, yeah, but in that episode, he was just showing that he's the good guy. He
I
he is the
once
hero of the
again,
episode. You even get to see the kid open his notebook, and you
for
see all
sure.
the pictures being drawn about shooting up the school and
Yeah, and I think
and
he's just master intelligent, and I think I don't. I want to get into it a little bit more later, and we can even make an
we'll
episode
get
about
into
it.
it in season 4 or
Yeah,
episode 4 too,
but
because that's when it kind of shows his true colors.
I think as similar as they may be, I think that Harrison doesn't have any morality in him. I don't think it's gonna go about, oh, I'm going after killers or fitting the code per se. I think Harrison is gonna be just ruthless. I think he's
I,
just a murderer.
okay. Well, here's what I think, and this because I listened to a documentary not too long ago about the difference between sociopaths and psychopaths, and
Mm-hmm.
I think the opposite. I think Harrison does actually feel, and I think he's different to Dexter in that way. Like he still has those impulses and wants to do it, but he's not a psychopath. He's a sociopath, and also feels bad for it. It's not going to stop him from doing it, but he feels bad after he does it.
I don't know. He played that thing perfect where he became friends with this person, and I think it was more. I think there was an alpha thing in that, and we don't have to spend too much time on this. But saw the notebook, saw everything that the kid was willing to do, and saw it as an opportunity to. The moment that he listened to the podcast in episode 4, and we'll get there in a second.
Yeah.
I think it triggered him, right? And then in that moment, there is no what you're saying, sociopath, psychopath. I think it's all psychopath at that point. And like, I feel like I think they're showing that he doesn't,
Sure.
there's a
But
rage
that's
inside of
also
him he can't
but
control.
that's what a sociopath
For
is.
sure.
It's just it's a psychopath that has empathy and can feel emotions.
Just how,
Not saying he still wouldn't have that rage, and because we just need to talk about it in episode 4. Either way, episode 3 I thought was a decent episode, probably the slowest in the
yeah,
series. It's not boring slow. It's just slow in a way that the season's only going to have 10 episodes and it's
dude,
supposed to be only one season
you could
long.
take out like a conversation out of every scene and it
Mhm.
would that you would still get what's going on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like every time they talk to the lady in the wheelchair at the police station, like just show her
Yeah,
for a split second and move on. You know what I mean? You
but
don't have to.
it's fine if it's fine if it was a 12 episode season with multiple seasons, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's supposed to be 10 with only
Yeah.
one. So the pacing worries me after watching that episode, specifically because now they could be lying and hiding it and seeing what actually happens. But they said, and they've been adamant that this is a one-off season for Dexter,
I,
which we
I would
can
love for
also.
it
I
to
got
not be.
theories on. I do too, but I got some theories on that too. But either way, um, it just kind of worries me. To end episode 3, also, of course, we see Matt's dad putting after Dexter puts the body in the incinerator. We see him and he's drunk, and he's like, "Oh, I FaceTime Matt. I seen him. He told me he was
Yeah.
fine. He told me for that deer." And it was kind of that's when things kind of in Dexter's head, like, why would he say that? And that kind of goes into
Well,
episode
for
4.
that's where it really started twisting for me, where I'm like, oh, this is turning something that I didn't think of. And yeah, going in episode 4, you see Kurt again because they talk about the Kurt thing for a minute.
Or to talk to the sheriff as
Yeah,
well.
he goes to the thing to talk to him, and that because uh, everything's whatever. They just talk about Matt being alive for a minute because that
Hmm.
the rumor's spreading around town or whatever. Uh, Harrison leaves for school, all that type of stuff. And then we see Kurt at the police station after that, and um, that's when we see Angela like questioning about, is this really happening? And this is when we're really getting the true thing of Kurt, because then you're like, well, we know none of this is true, so this is crazy. And
Yeah.
then we get that single shot of him afterwards in uh his office, hands on his head, everything like that. Angela's called him again, still wants to talk to Matt. This isn't in chronological order. I'm just saying with him in particular. Um, and that just sets up him talking to that young lady outside the diner and everything.
Yep. And I also thought it was cool. You get to see the Deb scene where she's on the ground with the pictures with the yarn and a red
Yeah.
marker,
And
just running through the scenarios, like why he could be doing that. And I thought it was cool, like how Dexter is
yeah.
talking through it and using Deb, like, okay, if this happens, let's say he's gonna forget about you, but he's gonna think the sheriff's had
Yeah.
something to do with it. He wants to take care of himself.
And let's kind of
Um,
just finish out our thought on them, just so we don't have to circle back to them. You know, I think it would be easier. Then we can get to the Harrison part. But getting into the Kurt thing and everything, I love how they set it up, and because I didn't see it coming. You said you saw it coming. I thought it was going to be the billionaire guy, but we see Kurt come and drop off the drone over at um, Dexter's because of what Harrison does at the school and everything. And immediately I'm like, that's just so weird. He has no connection to the school at all. I mean,
yeah.
obviously his kid went there, what he was from the town, but it's not like he had a kid currently going there and his kid wasn't on a hit list or anything like that. So that just seemed immediately off to me. And then coming back to the end of it, I'm like, okay, well now I understand what the drone's for. I understand what he's doing there. I think he automatically is. It's so much reminding me of the Trinity thing, where like, uh, I feel like we're gonna have two really smart characters in Dexter and Harrison be outsmarted by somebody, and I feel like that's what they're setting up. It just
So what do
really
you think? I mean, what's the drone for though? Like, why drone? I
um
didn't get.
a drone either is I think he's one. He knows his son went missing on that land, right? I think he's bugged the drone. I think that's the most obvious thing. Bug the drone, neither that he can watch when Harrison's flying it over maybe where he's at. Maybe he can get a better eye there, but he could obviously just do that. Where I think it's bugged is maybe a microphone or another camera where it's in the house. It. You think about certain things about storylines. They made the drone thing in what, the first episode, second episode, where he likes the drones or whatever, and then they come back to the drone. It just, there's going to be something with that drone. It's not just he got a drone, you know what I mean? So like it just that's the most obvious thing to me.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but we'll see. I think it was definitely. I thought it was him. I don't think you're 100% wrong. I think that billionaire dude probably has something to do with it.
He has to. Um,
It reminds
here's
me of, remember
here's
the season of Dexter where all the friends would get together and kidnap a girl and rape her? I feel like it's going to go into a direction like
yeah,
that.
and I want to get we'll after this we'll get into a theory thing, but um, so to finish out the Kurt thing, we're not positive because you can't tell, but you see that him bring the girl down to what we see the other girl run out of in the previous episode and get shot. So it kind of just set that up as him being that. And if you actually go back and look back, he has the same wrinkles under his eyes and everything like that when he puts the mask on. So it literally looks like Kurt. Um, so that's setting up that story. So I think it's pretty obvious that he's the serial killer, and if we're going off the timeline, he's probably the same person that uh
Kidnap the cop's friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
what however many years ago. So um he's a seasoned serial killer at this point, you know what I mean? So I think this is one of those points where I like, oh, this guy's smart. But moving on from him and going back to the Harrison thing, Harrison leaves for school, Dexter does his thing, and then that's when everyone gets the alert or whatever that stuff's happening at the school. And then we get Dexter gets there and he sees what's happening, and his forensic mind immediately starts working. He questioned it there. He questioned it at the house as well about just how the cuts were set up, and I thought it was an amazing scene using Deb and himself as like his
Yeah.
blood.
His mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Or basically, he was like, he went back to the crime scene to look at what happened, just like an old Dexter fashion, and you got to see him do his blood splatter thing, which of course
Hmm.
I was curious at how they were going to do that this episode or this season, should I say? And he recreated it by him and Deb stabbing each other,
Exactly.
and I thought that was cool. He did all that in his mind to see. Um, but yeah, and then you find out kind of, so Harrison, the
He
kid
knows about
knows,
his
yeah,
past.
he listens to the podcast. He definitely knows about his past, which is obvious, but he goes and listens to this podcast and gets to the party. That kind of hits a timestamp to go listen to his mom being killed and talk to him about the Trinity killer. That's when the alert goes off.
And hold
And
on to touch on that just for a second because I feel like it's going to become important. The killing in fours. They made that they wanted to make that prominent, right? They could have just said the Trinity killer. We would have all want to know. We would all known, but to like make that a point, I feel like is a reason. You know what I mean?
sure. And but yeah, and then we find out that the guy said his friend Ethan was going to shoot up the school, wanted him to help. He said no. Ethan attacked him with a knife, and then he had no choice but to cut
Mm-hmm.
him on his leg with a knife, which caused him to bleed out and almost die. And obviously, that was a fishy story, and Dexter saw right through it. But Harrison did look truly upset that it happened. Not in an acting way. The only time you really get to see him break that is when he goes to the hospital to visit Ethan, which I thought was weird, knowing that he did it and
I
wanting
think
to apologize. And he truly looked like he meant it. And we did get to see his crazy face when they said, "We don't want to ever see you again."
yeah. So I have a different feeling about that. I feel like that was more of a Dexter showing up thing in previous seasons to see if he got away with it. I think it was to see because they said because there was a point where they're like we got to get him to the hospital. The kid might
Mm.
he's in serious condition. He might die or something like that. Um, and then he even said he's not gonna die, is he? I felt like he showed up to the hospital to see if it was like I feel like is my victim dead? I feel like
Yeah.
that's more what it was than I'm apologetic.
Yeah, see, I didn't see that. I think that he did look actually upset, and I think he was checking in on him. And I'm curious to know. I mean, they're probably going to go into his past a little more, what actually happened, but he didn't really change until they said, "We don't ever want to see you again." And I had the feeling that it's not like the first time he's heard that. Like he's done other things
Sure.
out of impulse, and people have basically told them to leave, which I thought maybe Hannah. Maybe that's why he's
Mm-hmm.
not with Hannah anymore. Um,
Which could be
I'm sure
true.
they'll go, yeah, and I'm sure they'll go into it. We don't know. It could go either one of the ways we just listed out. I just felt like it was truly, and the actor did a great job
Yeah, I'm really
with the
loving
instant
everything
kill,
about all this.
everything. Yeah, I think Harrison is I mean, the person they chose to play him is
I hate
perfect.
his hair, but other than that, like, yeah,
Dexter's hair sucks too, but we can make a whole episode on that. But yeah, so we get to see that, and then we get to see, towards the end, Dexter and Deb debating about it, which I thought was nice. I thought that Deb playing the he's nothing like you. You're
Yeah,
looking, and Dexter knew what the problems were, and then of course we get to find the switchblade, which
is
Deb
what
thinks is
Trinity
awesome.
used.
Yeah, what Trinity used to kill his mom, or not, but the straight razor. And then seeing Dexter say he has a dark passenger like me, and
And he
then
like
start
almost
smiling.
smiling, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, where he's almost proud of it. And I thought it was a very good how they wrapped all that up. I don't think it's gonna go how anyone plans. I think you're right because you were like, I hope it's just not as I hope it's unpredictable, and I truly think it's gonna be
Well,
unpredictable.
one
I don't.
one of the things though, especially if it's the same like creator, um, Dexter's always done a good job of being unpredictable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even the biggest thing that happened with Harrison's mom was Rita's death.
Mm-hmm.
One of the worst things I've ever, most pissed off I've ever been, but one of the coolest like cinematic things to happen in a TV show. Um, I thought, I have a feeling they're going to. It seems so predictable right now, but I have a feeling they're going to turn this into something else entirely.
I agree, and I actually have my fingers crossed that this isn't a one-off season. Um, Watching this season again has made me realize how much I missed this show, and I just hope it keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, I did have some. If we, well, that was season or episode 4. Excited for next episode. I would like to see the pacing. This one was better, but I would like to see the pacing get a lot better, and then really get into it, because you only got 6 episodes.
Yeah, next
So
episode's halfway, so
yeah,
yeah, we're
so you
there.
got to really kind of open it up, which I think it will. Now they've introduced all the key players. You've introduced Harrison's dark passenger. You've introduced the main serial killer, which they always have that main killer. Now we have all the pieces to the puzzle to start kick it off basically.
Exactly. Anything you else want to say before we wrap up just the breakdown of episode 1 through 4?
No, I think that's it. I'm excited for episode 5.
I am too. I don't think we missed too much. I know we missed a lot, but that was just a quick breakdown of what we thought was important in each episode. But we're gonna release another video. It's probably gonna drop right after this. This is gonna be pretty much our theories, break coming up, what we think of episode 5 and forward, not
Sure.
4.